All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to peel back the layers of modern Windows and look at a security model that's, well, it's pretty revolutionary. It operates way beyond the boundaries we're all used to. Think of it like a hidden fortress, and we're about to get a look inside.
So here's how we'll do it. We'll start with the classic security setup we all know, then pull back the curtain on the new foundation that changes everything. We'll get into virtual trust levels, see what's inside this secure world, meet the guardians protecting our data, and then wrap it all up by talking about what this means for the future.
Okay, so to really understand where we're going, we've had to be crystal clear on where we've been. For decades, operating system security has been all about one fundamental line in the sand.
And this is it, the classic divide. You've got your user mode up top, that's where all your apps, your browser, your games, everything runs with limited permissions. And then below that line, you have the kernel mode. That's the heart of the operating system, the all-powerful kernel. The name of the game has always been to protect that kernel. If a bad guy gets to the kernel, it is game over.
But here's the thing. That model, as important as it still is, isn't the whole story anymore. Not by a long shot. There's another layer, a much more fundamental separation that's been put in place, and it completely changes the security landscape.
So, way down deep, even below the kernel itself, there's a new, more powerful dividing line, and it's all thanks to the hypervisor. Now, you might think of this as just for running virtual machines, but in modern Windows, it has become the absolute bedrock of a whole new way of thinking about security.
So what exactly is a hypervisor? Well, think of it as this super thin, super privileged layer of software that runs right on the bare metal hardware. It's the ultimate referee. It uses special features of the CPU to create these totally sealed-off virtual environments. And the main OS, the kernel, it has no idea they're even there. It can't see them, it can't touch them.
Now, this power to create completely isolated worlds is what lets Windows introduce a brand new system of privilege. And this is key. It runs totally parallel to the old hardware rings we just talked about. This is where we meet something called virtual trust levels, or VTLs. So you've really got to think about security in two different directions now. On one axis, you still have the processor rings. Ring 0 for the kernel, Ring 3 for your apps, but now the hypervisor adds a totally separate axis, the virtual trust levels. VTL 0 is what we'll call the normal world. That's where your entire regular Windows operating system runs. And then there's VTL 1, the secure world.
Now, let this sink in, because this changes everything. The secure world VTL 1 is more privileged than the entire normal Windows operating system. That means even the all-powerful Windows kernel running along in VTL 0 has no power here. It literally cannot see or interfere with what's happening inside VTL 1. The hypervisor makes sure of that.
So what exactly is in this secure fortress? What's running in this super privileged VTL 1? Let's take a closer look at the architecture of what's called Virtualization-Based Security, or VBS.
First off, the secure world doesn't run the normal Windows kernel. Nope, it runs its own tiny, specially built kernel called securekernel.exe. It's designed from the ground up to have a minimal attack surface. On top of that, it runs a special environment called Isolated User Mode, or IUM. And this place is locked down tight. Any application running here can only make a tiny, heavily audited set of system calls, which keeps them from doing anything they shouldn't.
Okay, so this architecture is fascinating. But what does it actually do? How does this fortress protect you in the real world? This is where we see Isolated User Mode in action.
Living inside this isolated world are special, highly secure little applications called trustlets. You've actually got them running on your system right now. For instance, lsiso.exe is the process that handles your most sensitive secrets, like your login credentials. Then there's bioiso.exe, which secures all the biometric data for Windows Hello. These are the guardians of your most valuable digital secrets.
So, why is this such a huge deal? Well, think about it. Even if an attacker achieves the Holy Grail and completely compromises the main Windows kernel in VTL 0, they still can't get to the credentials being protected by the lsaiso.exe trustlet in VTL 1. This architecture just shuts down entire classes of attacks we've been fighting for years, like the infamous pass-the-hash attack. When you put all this together, you realize this isn't just another layer of security. It's not just an improvement. It's a fundamental paradigm shift in how we think about operating system security. For decades, all of OS security was built on one single core belief: protect the kernel. The kernel is the root of trust, and you protect it at all costs. But virtualization-based security starts by asking a much more radical and maybe a more realistic question. What if you just assume the kernel can't be trusted?
And that is the huge takeaway from this whole thing. The new model works from the assumption that the kernel can and probably will be compromised at some point. So instead of just building higher walls around the same old castle, it builds a completely separate, much deeper, and much smaller fortress just for our most critical secrets. The new goal is to make a kernel compromise almost irrelevant for the data that truly matters.
Help me out, please smash that like button, leave a random comment, and subscribe if you want to become a better hacker.